Okay, so where we got to the last time was the top of page Kuf Lamed Hey. And over here we were looking. Uh, let's see what's going on here. Okay, let's take a look at this. We'll read on number Yud Aleph, and then we're going to read over to Yud Beis. Now he starts out with this phrase Kecheza dehivya. My translation is has the appearance of a snake. His pashtos bechinas hakelim. So he's talking about the creation of kalim. Not sure that I'm really 100% clear. This is called the chipa, the chakika, or the gelufa. Is it somehow that kalim are made as a result of the destruction of the seven kings who fall into Bia? Now, so it has. There's a lot more here. He said, but his pashtas bechinas hakelim shall olam arishon hanal. So he said that this is the first which is Bela. He says olam arishon. B'kol partzufim v'olamos nira, and this would be in all of the olamos. It's the same situation. V'olamos nira kamara the most nachash. It appears to have the appearance of a snake. Kignegdim ba'acharayim. So because he says what? Because behind all of these different, all of the ocean, the olam arishon, and he says it's the concept the olam arishon b'kol partzufim. Almost. It means like looking at an ovi, I guess, because they were going to have the same situation. So he said, connect them ba'acharayim omdim aklifos, because behind this kedusha, I guess he means to say, sheheba bechinas nachash, behind them is this concept of the snake. Ba'aklipa he connected the kedusha zeh l'umozeh. So the klipa actually matches. In other words, it's lined up exactly in the same order as you see over in Kedusha. Let's look at number Yud Beis and technically try to go over these words. He says, Ratzon Olomar, Kiloshin Kechezu. Let's try to start with that. Its appearance. Pirish Mara Vedimion. Kamosha Bir Khan Ban Hagas Derek Ames. He said, Begilion Azayir, but this is the language. He said, Chezu the Hivya. Nezgala Misham Mara Vedimion Shal Nachosh. So over there you're getting a vision or the appearance of a snake. He says aruch, a long snake. He said behind the bekan bebechinas kedusha asher belechas sovim aklipos and bechinas nachash. So therefore he says like this. Gama kedusha nirika maradimian shal nachash. So therefore, since that's what I'm not sure exactly what he meant to say. If he meant to say that since the klipa looks like that, so therefore that's also what the kedusha looks like. Nachash, the kedusha. So there is a snake in kedusha too. Talmud, Talmud. I don't know this. He keeps saying this Talmud with the little slash on it. I don't know what he means. Lefi Darko, do you know what he means?
No.
Okay. So that's what he means when he says the appearance of the snake. Now, Ratzon Lomer, Katorah Nachash, the form, the how you would describe a snake. Besod Nachash Kedusha, which is the secret, the Kedusha Dika Nachash. Bereach Atichon. So he said, I don't know. Bereach is a Bereach Atichon, which would be the inside span. I'm not sure what that means. So in other words, it's a phrase. I'm not sure what the phrase means exactly. What he's trying to tell me. And what's to say that there's an inside, there's an outside too. So he's so this is called the nachas achalasa. So he says hamora al samakel ki yesh kenegda b'kedusha. So he said normally, I guess what he's saying is that normally when you use this concept of the nachash, you're talking about klipo, you're talking about something bad. But in corresponding to it, that's the same thing on the inside, which is Kaddish, Adkan. So Ayin Shav B'Zechav Gam B'Sefer Atar Tzvi Al Zohar, and then he says like this, and he says Ayin Shav B'Rei B'Ha'aros L'Eil B'Shem the Re Tibel the Iker Inin Trin Tanin Nachash. He says Hu B'Kedusha Rak hanimsho hu beklipa, but it could be compared to what's out in the klipa. Klipa yeshlo ezachiza bekedusha, because it has some connection. He says achiza, hold in kedusha. Ein sham. Brian zech of a ray beferish maritzruk. It was v'zal l'shanu. V'hiyos shekodim shenizhaver of the Sifra achra. Choisach hakika hanizker besod din bilvad. Now it's a very mysterious phrases here when he talked about the malachim. To me, it wasn't really developed the way I would like it 100%. And he says like this: V'hiyos shekodim nishnavel Sifra achra. Sifra achra means the side of the klipa. Choisach hakika. But before you could have that, you have to have this impression. I'm going to use the word impression right now. This impression, hanizker besod din bilvad, which is just the din. Now, the din is what does all the carving. That's a good thing about din. It can do some carving, I guess. Then after the kalim are broken, na'asis so din kosher. But then after that, in other words, he wants to say that they're pushing outwards. I think that's what he wants to say. I could read it again. So the chakika was just a pushing outwards. I think that's what he means. He says din bilvad. But then the kalim didn't make it. They broke. So din kosher. Then that din, which was apparently it's an extension in some way, it breaks, and then it's really a bad din. So in other words, there's good din, there's bad din over there. We've just been through Rosh Hashanah in the 10 days, and Yom Kippur. Then it becomes a real big time klipa. Behind the Ka'amar, that is that. So let's just go through a sequence. I guess I'll read it down, and we'll go through the sequence. So he the behind the Amba Behaza the Hivya Arich. So it's a really long appearance of a really long snake gun. For its own lomishal din kadosh, v'huk ayin nachash the klipa. So again, it's a little turned around there, but at any rate, that's what it says. So what he said was. First, there was this concept of the din. The din pushed out, and it did some impressions. I'm not sure what that meant. Some stamping or some impressions there. But then the kalim break, and then it become din kosher. So then after that, you have the kalim broken. Comes along Adam Arishon, and he's going to be saking everything, and he messes it up. Arishon, that our ancestor messes it up, other Marishon, as klipa gas, and then it becomes a really big klipa. Okay, so this is the best I could do with that. Always introducing new words and different kinds of ways of seeing it. So B'rei Gam B'Etz Chaim. So let's look over there in the Eitz Chaim. He said Shabir Shehem Kedimyam Shnei Anashim Zeh Keneged Zeh. So if you want to know, here's a way to look at it. It's like two men standing back to back or standing next to each other. As the Nimsek HaKlipa HaGedusha Merosh Atzilov Atzofo the Asiya, so that the Kedusha, which goes, I guess he means to say the Asiya of Kedusha, which is the Asiya of Atzilos, Haim Kedimian Beis Anashim, if you look over there, it looks like two men there. The Echad Kadosh and Mislavish Batzilov Atzilus. So it says, and it's mislavish, that is the man in mislavish means it's clothed by Atzilus, and then the Atzilus is clothed in the Bria, and the Bria is clothed in the Yetzira, and the Yetzira is clothed in Asiya. But that's the first one. That's the one that's Kadosh. Besu Adam Babalial. This is a bad guy. Akolo Abia the Klipa, which has within it the same thing, the Abia the Klipa. Now, I've just read that in myself. I don't know what you think about it. I just said that he had to have been talking about the Abia of Atzilus to start with. And then, because it's Kadosh. So after that, you get into Bria. Bria is no longer Kadosh. But Besu Adam Babalial Akolo Abia the Klipa. Omer Betzido, it's right next to it. It's on the side and the back. Eshel Adam Hakadosh, the Kedusha Hakola Abiyah the Kedusha. There is it again. Is the Abiyah, the concept of Abiyah the Kedusha. I said you what my impression would be of that. So this is what we're saying over here, that this is like the appearance, or compared to, or like two snakes, opposite each other. He says, this is the stamp of the stamp that was stamped. Rotzalomo means what? Shenizbala ha'adam hagadosh v'chatohor. He says that what you have, the word is swallowed up. The man hakadosh v'chatohor ba'adam the klipa shuhu b'chezi the chivya, which also looks like a chivya. Now it could be that maybe that when you get to the klipas, they're more physical and you see them more, but there's still kedusha inside of it. But somehow, I don't know. So let's go on. This is looking like a lot of different ideas here. Let's look at number Yud Base over there. We'll meet to Yud Gimel. V'hein yonkim min ha'acharayim the kedusha. So this is the concept of how do they survive, or that they're actually taking from the backside the kedusha on nimshachim olam harishon now, which is extended from the first world. So he said, now let's look over here. He says, canal. He said number 13. He says, b'shem the Eitz Chaim, he says, ki min ha'acharayim de kedusha shel b'bina teferes and malchus d'atzilus. So let's talk about bina, and you have Leah behind bina, and let's see what else. Bina teferes and malchus d'atzilus. Hayotzin min klas almin, which comes out from the three worlds, which he says are kolulin ba'alma kademoa canal. So again, I think he meant by that, he says that the three worlds of Bia, which are included in the first tikkun of the Bir of Verakanpen, which he had mentioned before, but so Zilpa, Bilha, Vishnei Anash, and Maraglim. And the actually, so I guess you would say that Zilpa, let me say, it starts with Zilpa. Zilpa would be behind Leah, and then Bilha would be behind, I don't know, Vishnei Anash and Maraglim. He said it the other day, I forgot already. So mispashtim mochim ela klipa. So from these facts, the matter is that there's like an intermediary, which is the weaker version, let's say, so to speak, which would be the handmaids, and then we have the two spies. Now, I know we went through this in Eitz Chaim. I just don't remember exactly how these names apply. Ayin Sham v'rei b'sidr ben Yehoyada, what he says over there. That over there he brings the order of how the klipos flow. This is what he says. Which is the first Alma Kadma, Yotzer Akre Leah Zilpa Shifchasa. So they go like that. There's Leah. Leah's on the back of Bina, so you're already on the back side, and there's a lot of din in there. Then she has a handmaid, Zilpa, and it goes through her. But you get on the back of Zilpa, let's say she's still Kadosh. That's where you see Anama, who's the Muach Yamin, the Nukva the Klipa, Ukunegdam Achrezan, then correspond to that after Zeranpin. Yatzim Margel Echad Muach Yamin the Klipa comes out this one spy, which is the muach the chura the klipa. Now let's see just a little bit more. We could get through this. We have 1 minute. But the mochin is pashim achrei bia. Behind to keep him yosim osin shaganega tzilus. So he says that they also are carved out. Yosim osin kanegda tzilus. Adkan. Ba'ayin sham ba'arucha sedacham shachas shar klipos. And so there's more to be said about this, and it's a big subject. And we'll get to it the next time. So let me ask you this question before we got like 30 seconds. Yoli said to me that he was interested